Please remove your hat. We are entering the Oval Office.
Welcome, everyone. This is the Oval Office group, and it is pretty awesome to see everyone and to just see you all today and experience this day. And we're super excited that you're here. So maybe I'll start with a group question just to kind of get the dialogue going. So what was your best memory of working on 24?
Oh man, I mean, I married the director's kid, so I'm gonna go with my wedding. But and my son being born. But when I was actually on the show, I just had so many incredible memories. But I remember the first time I knew Kiefer was okay with me being there. That was a pretty amazing memory, because I was pretty terrified to be on the show. I hadn't done as much as everyone else, and everyone was so incredibly established and people I really admired. And I was being tortured, as you do on 24. And I was supposed to only come on for a few episodes, and my storyline had continued a few extra episodes, and that was really exciting for me, and I was being tortured. And it was the first scene I was in with Kiefer, and we were in the White House, and Tony Todd had a gun to my head, and I was bawling and crying, and it was over. And then very quietly, like a ninja, Kiefer walked over. I didn't even know he was there. And then he just whispered next to my face, "Very good job." And then he walked away, and I was like, oh, I did it. It's amazing. So that was pretty great.
That's awesome.
Cameron just joined us. Cameron from down under. How you doing, Cameron?
Cameron. I remember singing duets and trios with Bob Gunton and Cherry Jones. It was like one of the most wonderful, because all of us are theater folk, and I hadn't been on Broadway in forever, and Cherry started humming some Cole Porter tune, and Bob jumped in with a harmony, and I jumped in with a third part, and before we knew it, anytime there was any downtime, we were going over, Irving Berlin repertoire or whatever the heck it was, and we just had it. I remember we were shooting in that office building downtown LA. We were, it was the United Nations, and we just had so much fun. I know it's kind of cliche, right? Because shooting is so much fun, but we literally really did have so much fun. And I had never worked with Cherry or Bob before, and I was a huge fan of both of their work, and to just see them be so playful and so loose, moments before doing, very dramatic or intense scenes, to be singing, "My story is much too sad to be told," just hanging out. It was just really so refreshing and lovely. And I didn't know what I was getting into when I signed on. And I had an absolute blast. All of the directors that I worked with, Mylan, I think, directed a bunch of the episodes that I did. And just such lovely people. It was such an established show when I came on, and I felt so welcomed.
So I have to follow up with that, because you said something that ties to White Christmas. Did you sing any songs from White Christmas?
Yeah, I have to say, Bob and I actually did Sisters together. I'm not kidding. Literally, it was "When a certain gentleman arrives from Rome, she wore the dress and I stayed home." Yeah, totally. Are you kidding? Yes, 100%. I remember anytime Cherry would walk by, and she would do her best Bing. She would, "When I am lonely and I can't sleep, I count my and she was good. Yeah, it was great.
That's amazing. I have to sidestep. I played Betty Haynes in White Christmas.
The Haynes sisters.
I love it. Betty and Judy.
I love it.
I had to sidestep. That's amazing. One of my favorite musicals of all time. So nostalgic, but just amazing. Awesome. Thank you for letting me kind of cut in there. Sure. Yeah. Anyone else?
Rachel, I just want to introduce Cameron is in the room.
Okay. Awesome. Perfect.
And Geoff Pierson has joined us as well.
Awesome.
We have the full White House panel, and we have President Logan as part of the proceedings as well. This is amazing. Awesome.
A lot of presidents. There's a lot of presidents here.
The hall of presidents.
Hey, Jeff, how you doing? And Cameron.
Hi, John.
Cameron, down under, the furthest one, I think, for us today.
I was just saying it's Sunday morning here, so I can tell you the upcoming lotto numbers for tonight if you want.
I wish it all worked that way.
I know there's a TV show in that, mate. Let's do it.
Yeah. So Rachel, just repeat the question for the newcomers for us.
Yes, absolutely. Welcome everybody once again. So the question was, what is your best memory of working on 24?
Whose turn is it?
Qatar parties, I'd like to say. And I've heard other people say this, but John and Tina, I mean, the whole all for one for all family, I attribute largely to John and Tina, who had these fantastic parties, whole cast and crew. We all ate, drank, bonded, and when we got to work, we were like family, and we all had each other's backs, and it made for a much better show, I think, because we were all, we were trying to make each other look as good as we possibly can, and we were just a great team for that. Thanks,
Scotty, by the
John.
way, is our award-winning editor.
Yes.
He's our editor on the show, and got to put all the piles of footage that I put on his desk, and he made it something every week.
Wow.
Amazing work.
Piles of great footage. Yep.
Amazing work. I came in only for a couple of episodes to play a vice president. John and I had worked together a few years prior to that on FX, the series up in Toronto. And Brad Turner was directing, and Brad and I have done a bunch of shows together. He's always a bit of a curmudgeon. And I had a great time. My stuff was weird because it was all on a lot of it was on a video feed. I think I was on it. Cherry Jones had been kidnapped, and I was in a bunker, and I had Jeffrey Nordling
Right.
in another room doing live. I'd never done this before. It was like this live feed that I'm acting to those guys in another room while I'm yelling and screaming at the monitor. But it was really fun. I remembered everyone. Kiefer wasn't there the day I was there, but it was funny. People wanted to talk about, the crew wanted to talk about Kiefer in that, oh man, so what a bummer, Kiefer's not here, you'd like him. I'm like, oh, okay, that's cool. But it was a great vibe to work on, and even Brad was in a good mood the days I was working. Of course, it was me, and my dewy complexion that made that happen. Great to see you all.
Yeah, I think the thing that I remember most about it was in season 3 when I first came on it and was in a political campaign between Dennis and myself. And I was new to the show. I'd never seen the show. I remember I said to one of my daughters, I said, there's this show 24, I'm going to do this part on it. And she said, oh, that's a great show. I think it'd already been on for 2 years. But that was a very exciting time in season 3 of that show. There was a lot happening. And then, so we did a lot of things. And then I think in season 4, I think, John, you and I did about 13 episodes, all in Air Force One.
Yeah.
I never left Air Force One.
It was West Wing's. It was
And
West
you
Wing's
never
Air
really
Force
did.
One. West Wing
Until it
had
was
gone off
shot
the
down.
air.
Yeah.
West Wing had gone off the air, and we rented their Air Force One before they destroyed it.
That's right. That's right. But, it's funny, speaking of working with Kiefer, we never had any scenes together because why would we? The president wouldn't really talk to a CIA operative or FBI guy. We did have one phone call. I had to authorize him to kill someone, which I did. And then I later rescinded it, as I recall. But it's funny because then I did another series with Kiefer that called Designated Survivor, which we did up in Toronto for 3 seasons. And of course, all our scenes were together. So it was the exact opposite of, 9 years or 10 years earlier, whatever it was.
It was so great when I saw you on Designated Survivor. I got, look at, he just can't get away from Keith.
I know. He's back.
I have a question to throw in. Did Olivia and Aaron ever work things out? Because it didn't really end well.
Oh, it was bad. I had people stop me in New York City on the street and yell at me because I was mean to Aaron. Yeah, like full 100%. Like I got yelled at, and it wasn't, they were crazy. They didn't think I was Livia. They're New Yorkers, but they were like, "What are you doing?" And I was like, "Ah!" They're like, "Hey, Jimmy."
Speaking of New Yorkers being nuts, and I don't think that you guys knew this when you wrote it, but the terrorist attack that Rob Weiss, that my character planned, was on the corner of 93rd and Amsterdam, and that's where my building was. I'm not kidding. That's where I lived at the time. I lived at 93rd. My doormen were like, "What the hell are you doing? You're gonna blow up our blind." I remember when I saw it in the theater, I was like, they just pulled that out of. I mean, someone must have known, but it was like,
you can imagine what those people in Valencia thought when we nuked the whole town.
Thanks a lot.
Everyone was like, "Why Valencia? Why'd you pick on us? You dropped an atomic bomb on us."
Is Glenn still there?
I'm here.
Glenn,
Glenn,
do you think we worked it out?
Sweetheart, you and I always got along great, so I didn't pay any attention to that. We had fun. Season 7 was a blast working together. I have a moment that I would like to mention that happened with Greg Itzen. Yeah. And Greg is here with us, and it was in season 5, and Brad Turner was directing the episode. And we were together, and Greg's men had just beaten Aaron up, and there was blood all over me. And we were shooting. We'd already done the wide, and now we were on Greg's coverage, and we had finished Greg's coverage. And I went up to Brad and I said, "Can we do one more?" And he said, "Well, we're turning around on you now." I said, No, I don't mean on me. I said, "Can we do one more with Greg?" And he said, "The answer is yes, but why?" He was genuinely puzzled. And I said, "Well, we've already shot what was on the page, but there's this monologue that Aaron has that opens with Mr. President, and it closes with Mr. President. And the last line of that speech was, 'Is there anything else, Mr. President?' I said, 'Brad, I want to call him Charles.'"
Yes.
And he goes, "Oh, I love it." And he goes, "Let me go tell Greg." And I reached out to grab him and I said, Don't
tell him.
Do not tell him." So the camera was on Greg, and at the very end, I just looked and I said, "Is there anything else, Charles?" And he was genuinely incensed. There was no acting at all. And we finished, and they cut, and he said, "You son of a bitch, where did you come up with it?" Anyway, they wound up using it in the show, and that was probably Greg's most authentic moment we ever saw.
I remember that. Yeah.
I remember it well, and I remember your reaction. It was priceless.
Glenn was one of the ones that was in every season but 8, right, Glenn?
Correct.
Every season but 8. He was him and Kiefer basically were the only two, that lasted as long. I wasn't there for 8. If I was there, you would have been in the show. Even if you were just I would have just had you walking by the street. Anything, I would have put you in there.
Just to keep the streak alive, baby.
Keep the streak going. I would have done something. You would have had a phone call, anything. But
you know what? In all fairness, on Mondays, when we were on Mondays, I used to watch, and I'm sure this is true for most of you, if not all of you, but for me, I would watch the show, and this was, I think, my favorite part of the show, that I would watch it, and all the way through it, remember that that's the team I get to see first thing tomorrow morning. And when you're aboard something that's that wonderful, if you're smart, you take mental snapshots of it, because those situations are few and far between. I've made movies for 47 years, and 24 truly was a once in a lifetime situation. And I think that everyone knew it. I don't think that has now occurred to us in hindsight. I think that while we were shooting the show, we were all going, this is something special.
Yeah.
And I had that sense all 7 years for me.
Wow. And did you imagine at the time that you would be on as long as you were, like throughout your arc was?
No, are you kidding? On a show that routinely kills series regulars? And I'm not even a series regular. I don't even have a contract. I mean, no, in fact, the average 24 actor grabbed the script when it came out, licked their fingers and went, "Do I die? Do I die? Do I die? Do I die?" So true.
Yeah, we've heard about people getting the call. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
That's awesome. So I actually have a question for Scott Powell. You know, you're editing, and I'm sure it was like a huge job. You know, what was the process in editing 24 and from shooting to air?
Well, they shot in 8 days. By the time they finish shooting, I've got a couple of days to present it to the director. The director takes up to 4 days, and then I run for the producers, and then they make their tweaks, and then the studio execs and the network execs, and it's, you know, it's about a month or so.
And was it more challenging because of the format in which it was filmed?
Kind of, I don't know. You know, editing is learning the mechanics of it. Anyone can do that. I think I get hired for my taste, and it's sort of a touchy-feely thing. You know, it's you know, feeling your way through performances and stuff. And you know, I tell you, all these lovely faces I'm looking at right now made my job very easy, because they gave me choices from really, really good to, oh my God, that's fantastic, even better. Honestly, you know, all the roles, even the incidental ones, were so good. And that's you know, it's a big tribute to Peggy and Debbie also. But always the best cast, the best directing. Sure, it was challenging. You know, I got a mountain of footage dropped on me all the time, and being in multiple places at once and all the split frames, you know, it was a handful, but it was it was so much fun.
I loved working with Scotty, because what I would do as a director, you know, directors work different ways, and I never wanted to see the show until the editors cut it. I never did like piecemeal, because it was my theory is it's the only time I get to be an audience member and watch the pacing and watch it, because after that, then I start taking it apart. And Scotty would always be just one of those guys where I'd be watching the show going, oh, you put that over there. Oh man, look at that. That's so great. He would completely just reverse anything. Not everything, but he would just like take on it. And again, it's exactly as he said, it's not pushing the buttons. It's the taste of picking the take and telling the story. And he did it in a way that was my favorite. And I would make so few changes. Scotty, me and you would edit, even when we did a feature film together, When the Bow Breaks, and Scotty did it with me, and then it was a movie. So suddenly we don't have 4 days. Suddenly we have like, what did we have? 12 weeks?
10 weeks.
10 weeks to do it. And after the first week, we both looked at each other and went, now what do we do? We're done. Of course, you do learn to then look at it every day, and you do make it better. It is nice to have that time. But 24, the making of 24 worked just as fast as sort of watching it and what the story was about. So we virtually had very few days to put it together.
Yeah,
I have a question.
It was such a luxury to have all that time, and we had family screenings. We'd get they'd give us a theater whenever we wanted to have family and friends screenings, and
yeah, that's on the feature, not on 24.
on the feature, yeah.
No.
24 was very fast.
I have a question for James. What was the challenge of designing for an actual place like the White House? You know, there's fictional places that you could work around, but for an actual place that exists that we know, you know, we all know the White House. What was the challenge of that?
Well, basically, excuse me, you know, working with Joseph and Claudia, looking at the colors of the walls and everything, and making it presidential. I have to say, for Cherry Jones to be the first female president on a show, we were way ahead of our time, and she was amazing. She was just amazing. But I mean,
vote for her for real. I'd vote for her right now if she was actually.
Yeah,
I would totally vote for Cherry any day.
Absolutely, but it was Secret Service. It was presidential looking. It was suits, and trying to give certain characters a certain style of their own that stood out.
Well,
yeah,
thank you.
You got to know that Jim did that. I mean, when you've got nothing but suits, it gets a little more difficult to distinguish people. And Jim did such an amazing job. If you watch the show again, watch out for that. Watch out how everyone had their own style and their own look, even though they were just suits. it was quite unique.
I remember, Jim, actually, when I came on, one of the things that we talked about was that because my guy was the new guard, young Washington, he wouldn't wear the Brooks Brothers suit. And you guys had me go to Paul Stewart in New York City. They had a specific line that was this trim line called the Phineas Cole line.
It was the slim fit.
It was the slim fit. And I remember when I showed up, Howard said, "Wow, that suit's vacuum sealed onto you. Are you sure that's right?" And Jim said, "No, it's exactly right." And yeah, I remember I had to be careful bending over to tie my shoes. Yeah.
I just want to say, as the only actress on the panel right now who wasn't in a suit, my first fitting with Jim was, he puts me in this gorgeous blue dress and he's like, "This is a great color for you. This is fantastic." And I'm feeling shy and, and he's like, "Do you like it?" And I'm like, "Oh yeah, it's great." He's like, "No, do you like it?" And I was like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "You're going to be in it a long time." So that was also really interesting, though, with his design aesthetic, because one of the things that they did was they made sure that the things that they put you in were functioning and functionable. Hey. So yes, I was in a dress, but I was in a specific shoe that he knew I could run in if that was going to happen at some point. And the way I was wired, they triggered a pair of Spanx and like finagled it, and I didn't have to carry a wire around with me everywhere. And it was really fantastic. They were very thoughtful.
It was a lot of fun. It was so much fun. What a family.
Yeah. That's come through very clear today.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yep, I would agree. I have a question for Cameron. So you were almost president several times. How do you imagine that your term would have worked out? I have to ask. Is Cameron on here?
He's just muted.
There you go. Thank you, mate.
I had that sign ready. I didn't use it all day, so I'm so happy.
Oh, I'm glad you got to use it on me. That's brilliant. Lost in translation down across the seas. Look, how would it have turned out? Hopefully really well. I was actually, you get in the door on a show like 24. I was so thrilled just to be a part of it, and because it was such an iconic thing, and I was a fan of the show when it first came out, and so as a fan of the show, and then suddenly you get to be on it and be part of it. It was really a thrill. Bit disappointing that things didn't go further, but that's what we do as actors. You sign on and you're hitting the hope. Yeah, I don't know. I have never been asked that question, or even. I'm hoping there would have been some drama. I did actually get to play the president on another show after 24, so I felt like this was a great audition. They were like, that VP needs to go and be and be the main man. And it's so funny being an Australian, and playing the president of the United States, because obviously that will never happen. So it's just one of my cherished memories and things that I get to do as an actor, is to play these authoritative figures. And Geoff, you would know that when you're playing the president or VP, people treat you differently. You walk on the set, you got the little American lapel flag on there, and people treat you differently, and I quite liked that. It was like wearing an invisible crown.
Well,
I want to do it again.
That kind of leads to my next question. It's really for the three presidents we have in the room. What is the process of becoming presidential? Like, what did you do to assume and step into that role?
I just believed that I was the president. I mean, before I do a take, I said, "You're the fucking president of the United States." Everybody has got to pay attention. And then I'd walk on the set and do it. That's about it.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, in my case, I think a lot of it is the writing, and I'm sure Greg would agree. A lot of it is the writing. They write for you, so it's a pretty comfortable fit. I guess I'd played a lot of authority figures and politicians and senators before.
You
so
still
it wasn't
are.
that big of a stretch. Still am. Thanks, Greg. And it wasn't that big of a stretch. But again, the writing was the main thing, I think.
Thank you.
Yeah, I would just say,
turn.
I would just say that to me, it's I mean, I joked about the invisible crown, but that's something that I do like to play with in my work, is to put, I mean, just play around. And I remember there was one thing that I did with the VP, was to actually, as I'm putting on the suit, pretend it's like a robe, and it's this robe that actually lifted my carriage. I mean, sort of like Greg's saying, I'm the fucking president. It's like, put this thing on. It's like, wow, okay, here we go. And for my guy, because I wasn't actually the president, but I had to make decisions for the president,
right?
With the potentiality of the president being blown up at that point, that this is all going to happen. So for me, there was just a lot of conflicting ideas coming into playing that part, as well as I see that who did Cameron play? The accent threw me off. So also walking on set, well, actually going through the gates. As soon as I ever walk through a gates on a studio, if I'm playing an American, I immediately speak with an American accent and have that going, and that happens all day long. So I find it a lot easier to stay in rather than drop out, come back in, drop out, come back in. It's just easier to just play the whole thing all the way. And so, yeah, putting on the invisible crown, putting on the robes, and acting as if, going, yep, this is me, this is who I am, and you bastards better watch out.
I've got to just tell a Cherry Jones story, and apologies. She was supposed to be here and her schedule changed at the last second, and so unfortunately she wasn't here. But there's a great story where we're shooting the inauguration of a female president. And, you know, anytime, and it has nothing to do with the actor's ability. If it's a long speech, and an inauguration speech is a long speech, I have a teleprompter ready just in case if an actor wants to use it. And I remember going up to Cherry Jones and saying, you know, same thing. Look, I've got it, and I've got it ready. If you want, it's there. If you need it, great. If not, it's not a big deal, but it's ready. And she looked at me. She goes, John Cassar, how many women get to play the president of the United States? And she said, trust me, I got this. And so she had
amazing.
It was an incredible inauguration speech. I'd vote for her, like you said, Chris. We'd vote for her now.
I'm Canadian. I'd vote for her.
Yeah, no worries. You got my vote.
Yeah, she was great. She was really wonderful.
She has a gravitas to her, I think, in general, that comes with wisdom. And because she's so humble and kind, and she doesn't walk on a set and expect anything special, but she's so wise. You know what I mean, John?
Yeah,
that to me was very presidential.
Here's something you're not going to believe. She virtually pulled me aside because remember, she hadn't done much television. I don't think any. I think we were the first kind of television show for her. And she pulled me aside and she said, you're going to have to help me through this. I don't know how this television stuff works. And I said, dude, you're Cherry Jones. You've been in these great movies. You're a theater, you know, there's no one better in theater. You're Cherry Jones. She goes, I know, but this TV thing, it's so fast, so many words. I hope I can do it. Yeah, she could do it. She was fine. She didn't need much of my help. She was great, but she was nervous, amazingly enough.
John, that seems like the right time. Do you want to hear one more voice? Can we add one more voice to the proceedings?
Sure.
John's looking at me like, what are you going to do? What are you going to do?
What are you adding?
Can everybody see the screen?
Yeah.
Should come up. Okay.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity.
Hey, let me roll it back. Sorry.
Live with you.
There was a reaction. I didn't anticipate.
Yeah, it's also breaking up a little, Ryan.
Is it breaking up? Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity to talk to you, because I'm not going to be able to be there live with you all. And so I just wanted to say hello to the fans and hello to my friends in the Oval Office, all the wonderful people that I got to work with who are with you. I know you said Chris is going to be there, and Glenn's going to be there, and Sprague's going to be there, and So hello, everybody. And hello to the fans. And I really would love to. We had some fun in that Oval Office. I missed that Oval Office.
What drew you to even being a part of 24?
Well, quite honestly, a phone call from my agents that the producers wanted to meet me. I'd been touring. I'd done I'd done many months of starring in Doubt on Broadway, which I played Sister Aloysius, who was a nun of granite. And it was sort of a lateral move to go from Sister Aloysius to the President of the United States.
Sure, yeah, exactly.
It was the principal of a Catholic school, and it was a lateral move. And I remember I went in and I met the fellas, and I enjoyed them all so much, but it wasn't a very long meeting. And then I went back to the car that they had waiting for me to take me back to the hotel. And then, because I live in New York, and I got the call in the car on the way back to the hotel that they wanted me to play the President. And honestly, my very first thought, Ryan, was I was on the freeway looking at all these cars zooming by, and I'm a New Yorker and I don't drive. I know how to drive, but I haven't had a car as an adult. And I remember thinking, I'm going to have to drive. If I say yes, I'm going to have to drive on this, freeway. But then, of course, I was thrilled. And quite honestly, it was a miracle in my life because I'd done 8 a week as a theater actress my whole life.
Right.
And my parents were both in steep declining health. And 24 allowed me to be with my parents 2 weeks every month the last 3 years of their lives.
Wow.
And when the writer's strike happened, my mother had just had a major stroke, and I was able to be with her for several months after that stroke. So it was like the most perfectly timed gift professionally of my life. And I will always be so grateful to Howard and to John and the gang. And I tell you, that crew, I would just like to sing the praises of that crew. Because, you know, the actors would pop in and out. We'd pop in and out. We'd do our 2 or 3 days. And then they would go to the next plot. And that group of actors would come in and do that plot. And they would shoot two at a time. So I would come in and shoot my things and be gone. But that crew was there every single day. And it was usually very long days. And they were, and by the time I got there for season 7, you know, it was the most beautifully oiled machine you'd ever seen in your life. And people had fallen in love on that set. People had babies on that set. People had died, you know, who not on the set, but they lost loved ones. You know, it was, and so they were such a close group of people. And I came in very nervous about playing the President. And as you can imagine, and that crew immediately sort of deferred to me in a way that was so, they treated me with deference, and it gave me confidence. And then we all just became thick as thieves together. And I miss so many of them. I loved going there every single day to be with that crew, as well as the cast, but the crew, there was something else because they made that show. Ryan, I so thank you for giving me the opportunity to say hello to everybody. And I'm so glad people are still enjoying this show so much. And I can't imagine a decade that it won't be enjoyed because it was just so well made.
So as John said, she could not be here. We tried to figure out the schedule. We worked on it, couldn't get the schedule together.
That was great. You did that. That was great to see her.
We came up with an alternative.
Yeah, that was great.
It was beautiful.
That was so awesome. I was like texting her during it going, I miss you. You're so awesome.
Yeah, she definitely wanted to be a part of the day. And so we found a way to make that happen. So, I mean,
everybody
was talking about
ask the question you've been asking, and this is perfect because, you know, a lot of these people came on once the show was going. How did all the actors feel about, were you the good guy? Were you the mole? Were you going to turn bad? Did you ever have any of those feelings, even as presidents? Because obviously some of our presidents weren't great either. Did you ever sort of Were you ever wondering where your character was going? Because you knew we killed people, you knew people turned. So how did that feel?
I honestly, I can say I honestly just thought I was going to die from the beginning because I do it all the time. I die a lot, and I was so incredibly, and also because I had only been hired for a few episodes, and for me, in the beginning, I was just so incredibly thrilled to be around everyone, just like everyone has said, and to be a part of the show and to be learning from Cherry on a daily basis and John and everyone. But when I found out I could keep going, that's when I was like, oh, am I bad? Oh, am I good? Like, who am I? And it was very exciting to be bad-ish. I also love that how me being bad was so, I had such great motivation behind it. I wasn't a villain, you know? And that was just fantastic. I love that.
You killed John Voight.
I know I killed John Voight. It's a point of pride, but don't tell anyone. We were all he had such a presence on set as just an old, wonderful art, like not, that came out the wrong way, I apologize. A distinguished artist that we called him Mr. Voight, like all the time. Like the crew called him Mr. Voight, we all called him Mr. Voight, and then I killed Mr. Voight.
So just actually, while you're talking kind of about your character, what thrilled you about playing that character? Like that character, what thrilled you?
Well, in a lot of ways, that character was a turning point in my career because it was a turning point into playing adulthood, which is something I really hadn't done yet. I often played young characters that had burdens on them that were more adult, but Olivia specifically transitioned towards the end of her arc into wanting to be in control and wanting to be an adult and really wanting and to play with the big boys. And that was really incredible. But also Olivia was, you know, I've heard other actors talk about on 24 that their storylines sometimes were very personal. For me, I had no idea that Olivia was revenging her brother. I had no idea at all. And I found out, I think the writer, we were shooting in a hotel, maybe the first episode or second episode, and whoever was the writer at the time, I'm not going to say who, get in trouble, but I think he was having a glass of wine or something, and he was like, do you know why you've done all this? Do you know? And he told me about the story with my brother, and for me personally, that was very parallel to something that happened in my life. I had lost my brother very young, and 24 became also an artistic pivot because it became the job where I learned how to really fuel a character with my own personal experiences in a way that was forward moving for myself and for the character, because it became insanely personal. There was a day on set, and I promise I'll stop talking after this, but there was a day on set, we were shooting in the Oval Office, and I think I was in my office, and I was shooting with a phone or whatever. It was just me in the room is the point. And our AD, he came up to me and said, how are you doing? Are you okay? Because it was a very emotional scene, or maybe it wasn't just me. I'm sorry, it might have been fun. But it was a very, very emotional scene, and I had to talk about my brother. And it was on my actual brother's birthday.
Oh, wow.
And it was like this incredible moment where I just said to our AD, I said, you know, man, I'm fine. I know I'm not jumping off the walls like I usually am. I'm not talking like I usually am. It's because this is what's happening today, but I'm cool. This is gonna work. And yeah, it was really the character in my life where I wasn't playing pretend anymore. I really kind of transitioned to a level of reality I'd never done before. So that's it.
You know, that's a great story, because when you're playing a character, if there's something personally you've experienced that you can tap into, it makes the character that much more believable in that moment. And I think that is, you know, as you say, maybe bittersweet, but special at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, it was, you know, it happened a long time before, but it was also, you know, it's like Cherry said, the crew on this show was so incredibly, insanely supportive. And the minute you came on the show, it didn't matter if you were on for an episode or for 3 or for 27, you were a member of the family, and the whole cast let you know that as well. And it started from the top. It started from Kiefer, that everybody let you know you're here for a reason. and we want to support you in that. And it was really fantastic. You did your best work.
Mm-hmm. That's amazing. You know, one of the individuals who's here, Glenn, you were on the season or show from season 1. You know, when you started that that journey in season 1, did you know or think that your character would become that kind of pivotal and important across that many seasons?
No, but fortunately, 24 kept a watchful eye, meaning that they were watching chemistries that would evolve on camera and make decisions along the way, which I think is a great way to make a show. But originally, I was only scheduled to do a couple of episodes, not seasons, episodes. And then chemistry was observed, and they kept me around, and scripts kept coming. And Dennis Haysbert and I were remarkable friends. And I really believe, I'm just a fan of this. I could live to be 150. I will never understand why actors don't get along. I'll never understand that, because I think it behooves the project to go out of your way to make a special effort to connect, because we are connecting on the show. And when you're playing against that, it's counterproductive. To me, that's my opinion. It's what I coach all of my young actors. I've been an acting coach for many, many years. And so Dennis and I, the chemistry that showed up on screen was because we had that chemistry between the two of us. And so I really see getting along as something that mature people make an effort to do that. It was the blessing of a lifetime. And I got to tell you, and I'm sure Sprague can testify to this, and Greg and everybody else here that was on the show. Since 24 was one of those shows, and is one of those shows where when subsequent shows would make you an offer or would read, it would be right this way, just right this way. Who are we not to hire you? Because you have that brand. 24 is the biggest branding of my entire career. And so many jobs have come my way, and I'm on the mountaintop of gratitude for it, because I recognize how significant that was. People they want to have whatever expertise is associated with that branding. I get asked questions all the time, procedural questions. It's been very painful during COVID, because people want, Aaron Pierce is a character that people don't want to shake hands with, they want to hug him. And so people want to come up and they go, I want to hug you, and I understand. So it's been weird to take a year and a half off from hugging. I do want to say there's one little thing here. It's pretty priceless, because I've made at least 3 out of every 4 jobs I do are playing some sort of authority figure or government official. And it has been this way for a very long time. The series I did, Bloodline, kind of broke that up in a really nice way. And I played a coke dealer who made people go away permanently. So that was kind of nice to break that up. But I was doing a role on Ozark, a multiple episode run in season 4, which has not come out yet. And when I came out, I had a lapel pin, and Jason Bateman said to me, loved what you did on 24. And he said, you look really, really sharp. So Jim, you'd have been pleased. They put me in a lovely wardrobe. You look really sharp. And I said, well, they tried their damnedest to screw it up. Hand to God, this a beautiful story. And he said, Jason Bateman, he says, what do you mean screw it up? I said, they almost put the pin on the wrong side. In fact, they had placed it on the wrong side, and I moved it. And he said, there's a wrong side. And I said, yes, all government pins go on the left side because it is closest to your heart. And that's the truth. And that's the way to remember that. And he goes, wow, that's really cool. I said, as long as I'm informing you, I said, I spent 7 years on 24. And I said, I'll bet you there's an excellent chance you don't know the actual reason why Secret Service people wear dark glasses. And he said, no. I said, it's to keep the sun out of their eyes.
That's so Glenn.
That's awesome. I love that.
Walked right into it. Did. That's awesome. Man. This has been a crazy fun day, and I wasn't even part of the cast, but man, just the joy that you've exuded all day, it's been incredible. Any thoughts before, closing thoughts on being on 24 or being part of this family? or what it meant to you, how you got there? It's a big open question. Sorry.
Big question.
I mean, look, I'm going to add to something that Glenn and Sprague have already said. You know, I've been a working actor my entire life, and I had been doing it for a very long time when 24 was an opportunity for me, and it had come about at a point in time where I'd had a real dry run. I had a really rough year before 24 was an opportunity for me, and I remember saying to my wife because I auditioned for the role, and then they wanted to bring me back and give me some notes, and they were great notes. And I remember leaving that audition, and I said to her, and it's so cliche, but I just said, God, if I don't get this one. And I remember that pilot season, I had gotten so close to so many different things, and you know, it was always that notion of, oh, they absolutely loved you, you just weren't quite right for the role, or oh, you were just perfect, but someone else did. And I was and it had been time after time after time. And I said to her, God, if I don't get this, I'm not sure I can do this anymore. I think I have to stop. And I remember when I got the call, it's one of the only times in my career when I got the call that I got the job. I got down on my hands and knees, and my head went down. It wasn't just because I got the job, but it's what the job represented, because, you know, I've acted for many, many years, and I'm often on shows that I've never seen before and would probably never watch. And it's so few and far between that you get an opportunity to throw your hat in the ring with your heroes, with these people that mean so much to you. That you know, I was a very young man when I started watching the show, and it was like, and the reason I was able to watch, because I was a Broadway actor, and it was on Mondays, and Monday was our dark night, so I could watch it. You know what I mean? I didn't have to tape it. I could watch the show. When I got it, it was just, it's like I had won a Lifetime Achievement Oscar. I just felt so bloody grateful. And the fact that this is happening now, you know, admittedly, I hadn't thought about the show in a bit, because life carries on, and I have children, and you go on. But when you realize that it was a myopic view for me to think that it only meant that much to me. It meant that much to everybody watching. It meant that much to everybody involved with it. So it's such a blessing to even be able to share that. Because as I say it, I remember the feeling so viscerally. It was, oh my God, I got a job. And then it was, holy shit, I got 24. You know, it was just that remarkable feeling.
You know, just going a little off what Chris just said, the audition process, it's so interesting. It sticks with me so much because I've been a working actor my whole life as well. But I am one of those actors that's afraid I'm never going to work again. And even when I get cast on things, I'll go to work and I'll do a good job or whatever. And people will be like, you're doing really great work. How do I know you? And I'll be like, I was on your show. You know, like, cause I'm a character actor, and sometimes, I change and I look different anyway. That audition was one of the first ones where I thought, these people really want me and they want to make it work for me. And it was because of something Chris said. I went back with notes too, and they were incredible notes. And they were also notes about how to present myself. Like being a young woman in the business, when you're cast on something and you're in your late 20s or whatever, it's so much of it is about your appearance. It just is. That's just a fact. And I had lost so many shows because of, I don't know, wearing jeans and cowboy boots, I guess. And I was really just amazed at how the notes I got were so specific to my strengths, but also were at the same time telling me, like, come back and be presidential, be this, like, go out and get some, like, grow up, do this in a nice way. It was like they were pushing me to be a better actor and to move forward in my career. And that's exactly what happened. And when I went in that room, it really felt like, and I remember, and this is before I started spending Christmases with John's family, but I remember walking in that room and like auditioning for John and knowing that John wanted me to get this part. Like, I knew it in my gut. And usually I would go into rooms and have to prove to people why I should get the part. And it was such an incredible shift in my life because of that. And I'm so incredibly grateful that I got trusted to do that role. really grateful.
Amazing. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, it turned my career around completely too. And, you know, work you're proud of, so many great times and great memories, and it just keeps on giving because, like Glenn said, the quality of the show, you get, you're the first one in, and, you know, get a lot of phone calls, and I've been on a great run ever since.
You make us look good, Scotty Powell.
Yeah, thanks. I think it's the other way around too. I mean, we all on 24, we all did a good job of making each other look good.
And Scotty, I want to thank you for something. You remember there were so many times when I've had time in between scenes where I would have a scene and there would be 2 more in between before I'm back up, and I would come hang out with you and the other editors. I spent a lot of time with Scotty editing, because editing is something I really, really enjoy. And I want to tell you, and I won't go into detail now, but I do want to give you a call and tell you privately that because of COVID, our physical building where I coach, we had to go online, and we had to find a way to do scenes online. And everything that I picked up, every trick from being in that editing room with you, different eye lines, different angles, and with John, all of these things came into play. And 24 is still alive and well. And I can say this without a doubt in my mind, that at 62, I think I'm far enough along in this to say this and make this pronouncement. When my visit to the earth is over, 24 will be the best thing I ever did as an actor. It'll be the greatest show I was ever affiliated with. And there's still plenty more ahead, but it's one of those things when you've tasted the summit, you know what the summit tastes like. And everything else, under my breath, I've had so many times, John, no bullshit, where I would look and go, oh, you're certainly no John Cassar, because I'm listening to a director direct, and I'm not saying it out loud, but I'm running that thought in my head. So it's just a sacred group of people.
That's great, Glenn. It was such a privilege having you hang out in my cutting room with me.
Cameron?
Glenn just gives us soul.
Yes, John.
Your last impressions of 24 and what it did.
Well, I'll tell you what, I'll give you the impressions of what I'm getting right now. We chose to move back to Australia 3 years ago because our families, my wife's parents, my parents were getting older, and our kids were getting older, and they were born in Los Angeles. And it's been an interesting transition because we lived for 25 years in LA, and I worked quite consistently. And hearing you guys all talk with the reverence of the TV show, but not only that, of the work and the community that is created on a film set and a 24 set. And I've been grateful to be part of a few different sets. I'm missing the absolute crap out of Hollywood right now. I'm missing the opportunities. I used to audition a lot. You know, I'm hear Chris talking, man, I totally relate to what you were talking about. Pilot season, all that sort of stuff. That just doesn't happen down here. There's just not the work down here that does that. Though for personal reasons, we moved here, and it's a great life, and it's awesome. Though I'm an actor, and I've been an actor ever since I left school, and so as far as being on a set like I was explaining before, with the gratitude I had and the privilege of working on a set like 24, and working with you, John. I remember when we first worked together in the late 90s on FX, and I just felt like I had an absolute connection with you, and
absolutely
I loved it. You know, you, me and Carrie Ann Moss doing Medea, the episode Medea, and it was just so fun. And then when you called and said, or casting called, I think, and it said, there's a role here. Don't know where it's going. Unfortunately, I wasn't like you, Glenn. I didn't get picked up after 3 or 4 episodes. There was nowhere for me to go. But, I'm just grateful that on my CV, on my resume, I get the credit 24. And it's got way more credit in America than it does down here. Australians are like, yeah, great, whatever. What have you done lately? Sort of thing. You're like, oh, okay, I survived Hollywood for 25 years. How about that? Doesn't matter. So just to leave you guys with that thought of just the gratitude and what and how I feel it's just such a privilege to be a part of it and to be here. I'm going to post on Instagram. I got a little snapshot of this posted up there on Instagram that on my Sunday morning, we're hours away from a baby shower at our house actually, so I've got to go put some beer on ice. But that I got to be a part of this, and I am so grateful, and I'm still for hire. I can still do a great American accent, so I'm on the neck. And Qantas have now opened up international flights, double vaxxed, all the stuff, everything I need. I'm ready to go.
Mr. Pierson, Geoff.
Well, I'll tell you, John, the thing I recollect mostly in season 4 when we were doing all those scenes on Air Force One. And I remember it got to the point, and I don't know if you were as much in the dark as I was, and I had the feeling you were, because occasionally you'd tell me, well, I think you're going to land, we're going to go to Camp David. And then, no, we're not going to Camp David. We're going to land in Washington, and then we're going to go to another locale. And we never were sure what was going to happen with the plane. And then, of course, what happened was the plane got shot down, which, kind of happened at the last minute. But I remember very well the phone call I had with Greg Itzen, who was the vice president at the time, assuring me that everything was going to be all right. And I'm telling him, everything may not be all right. You may have to take over. So get ready. I don't know if Greg remembers that, but that was like the defining moment right there. And then, of course, the whole thing went down in a blaze of smoke and fire. And oddly enough, too, at that moment in that episode, I think my teenage son was introduced and killed in the crash.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Yes.
And we took down Air Force One. What balls?
I
mean, we just.
There was a lot of great scenes. That's what I remember. It was a lot of great scenes.
It was pretty crazy. It was
Yeah,
great. It was great to see you at Designated Survivor too. I was so happy to see you there.
Yeah.
It was great. I see you everywhere. You're a working actor, man. It's great.
Yeah.
It was fantastic to see everyone, I must say.
Great to see you, John.
Great.
Yeah.
What about you,
Absolutely.
Jim? You did so much.
Well, I don't know. It was such a family, and the fact that John Cassar, the other directors, Joel, Bob, were all approachable. And if you had an idea or you wanted, they were excited that you had an idea or you wanted to pitch in to make something better or different. It was just I couldn't wait to get to work every morning. And I was there like 4:35 in the morning, and I just loved it. I've never had an experience like 24 where you felt like you were really part of a team.
Hey, I just wanted to jump in and say, Jim, I love you.
I love you.
That's Joseph Hodges, everyone who doesn't know, who was our designer.
I wanted to say to reply to Glenn. It was amazing for us to see Glenn, who was in all these movies, and we all recognized him in all this other stuff. But then there he was on our sets, just saying a few lines here and there. And it was like, well, as Kiefer would say, damn it, there is Glenn. And it was amazing. He was one of those roles that it wasn't huge, but he was there, and he was there 100%. Whether he was on camera or on a telephone call, he was there 100%. He was one of those actors that was there 100%.
You're making me cry, brother.
Dude, you were like
making me cry.
So true,
My
Glenn.
pleasure.
You're
Greg.
the heart on the set. You're an anchoring force in the best way.
Greg, what have you got for us?
And if anyone out there wants to be an actor, find out where Glenn does his thing, because his classes are incredible. I've seen them. I left his class thinking I could do this. I could be an actor, which I can't. But he's amazing. He really is. All right, Ryan, what do you think?
Oh, I said, Greg, your cameras, your
You did.
microphone's not. Greg, I think Greg's going to say something.
Greg.
Microphone.
Greg. Oh.
Very good.
I knew that would come in handy.
It did.
I'm blanked out. No wonder.
There you are. No wonder we were all ignoring you.
Jesus. I have to give a shout out to Jeannie Smart. You asked one of my favorite things. Do you remember? I think you were directing it, John. The scene in the hangar.
Yes.
I love that scene.
Incredible scene. That whole sequence, right to the end.
Yep.
On stage, and the look that they give you at the end, which is like, we got you.
Yeah. Well,
it's beautiful.
You had us do it. We rehearsed it, and there was a bunch of people who were coming to visit the set. Strangers, people, just human beings.
A regular thing on 24.
Yeah. You asked me if I would mind, and I asked Jeannie, and we didn't. It was like, performing in theater. You do it for live people. I had that scene is still on my reel. It was a great scene. I enjoyed doing it. We both cried, and what can I say? She was fantastic.
Yeah, and she said her apologies too. She couldn't make it, and I couldn't be happier for Jean and the great work she's been doing. Amazing. And she was such a trooper. My favorite Jean story is that at the beginning, if you remember, it's in the show where she dumps her face into the water. And and all that, and the guy.
Was that her choice?
No, actually, it was written in the script at first, and then the guys got nervous because they thought, oh, maybe this is not going to make her look good, so they took it out, and she virtually came storming into the writer's room and went, "Why'd you take this out?" I said, "Well, it was too much." He goes, "Put it back in. This is who I am in this character," and it changed everything. It absolutely changed everything. And my other Jean story, which is great, is that what we did on 24, we did very fast lighting. Rodney was fantastic, and there was a hard edge to it. So it wasn't the kind of lighting where you made women look absolutely gorgeous. That's a different kind of lighting, and it takes a lot of lights, and you can't move the camera around as much, and we just didn't do it. And my job was to tell the actresses every year that they probably were not going to look worse than they are on 24, because we're not that kind of show. And I remember I had to go tell Jean that. And so I went to Jean and I said, "Look, I got something to tell you, and I'm a little nervous, but I'm just going to tell you right now, we don't really do beauty lighting. We don't." And she stopped me right away. She goes, "Who told you that I wanted beauty lighting?" I said, "Well, nobody told me that you wanted beauty lighting." She goes, "I don't care what lighting you do on me. It doesn't matter to me. Do what you always do." And I went, "All right, great." And that was Jean Smart in a nutshell.
Awesome. Well, I mean, this has been beyond what I ever could have expected this day was going to turn out to be. And I'm going to do my part really, really quickly. Operation Smile has been phenomenal to work with, and we're going to be able to fund several surgeries because of today and because of the fans and their support of this event. They've been awesome to work with, and I highly recommend that people check them out and donate on their own. Wiki24 has been very supportive of us. 24 Universe, always behind us. The crew that produced this, the Mimetic Productions team. I want to thank the Cigar Room. I want to thank each of the panels. I want to thank everybody that was on the panel today that took the time out of their busy day to join all of us today. Like, I can't thank you enough for the way I envisioned it. It's beyond what I ever thought it could have been. And I'd like to thank John for just cheerleading this thing, getting behind it, and really pulling the party together.
Yes. Thank you, John. Thank you, Greg and James and Sprague and Glenn and Scott and Cameron, Geoff and Joseph and everyone for taking your time today and chatting with the fans and
I want to thank Justin. Justin's at the end of my list. I'm pointing at you, Justin. I want to thank you for your persistence, your gentle persistence that has opened doors, because you are a gentle man and you are persistent in what you do, and you are worthy to be celebrated. I can't see what you're going to do next, what we're going to do
next. Thank you.
Because this has been amazing. This has been amazing. And I'll throw it to you, and I'd love to have John close this out tonight. Oh, thank you, Rachel. Rachel, thank you for the day. Absolutely.
Thank
But
you,
I want to throw it to
Rachel.
Justin really quick, and I'd love for John to close us out.
All I want to say is to you guys, I put this together. It really is amazing, and the reaction right away when I asked people to do this, it was so positive instantly. And then people that I missed, people were calling me and saying, "I want in, I want in." I kept throwing names at you guys.
They all called us.
Put it together. I don't know how you put everyone in one day, but you did. And thank you, and thank you just personally for all of us that we got to see each other again. Many of us haven't seen each other in years.
Yep.
And so it was really incredible to do that. So kudos to you guys. And I hope the fans enjoyed it as much as we did, because we really enjoyed it today. So
Is it
thank you.
over? I just jumped back. I just got back in.
I just wondering, Justin, do you have any more thanks before we close out tonight?
No, I'd like, it's been an amazing day. I think it's been special for all of us. It's been one that we'll always cherish and remember. It's been an awesome day today for the fans, and it's been a dream for, I think, all of us.
Yes.
Getting to meet all our favorite 24 crew and cast, and chatting with other fans worldwide, and it's been a fun organizing this too with the whole 24 convention team. So it's been just a surreal time.
Yeah, I mean, my dad was a guy that never forgot birthdays and anniversaries, and I think I get a little bit of that from him, and said we can't let this date go by without making some kind of brouhaha. So thank you very much. Appreciate it. And I will play us out. Sound good? Thank you for this panel. Thank you for everything you did.
Yeah.
Let's play us out really, really quick.
It was Ryan.
"20 years of 24. This will be the fastest day of your life."
All right. Thank you very much, everybody. Thanks for being a part of this day. And it's you. Yeah, you made this day, and we appreciate it. Thank you to the fans.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
That got behind
Thank
us
you.
and the team.
Thank
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Have a great night.